Hey guys, this is my newest small little hatchet. It is an Urnieta. I bought it about a month and a half ago. The head of the axe is made in Spain, and the handle and the sheath is made by Surcel Ionel, a guy here in Romania who primarily does that. Now, I did not see this on YouTube. I saw it on Facebook, and I saw a lot of people had them. I was curious, but I never really saw something that I would personally need or thought that I could use. So when I saw this model of an axe head, I asked him if he could make me something in between what he had to offer. He had one with a 25 centimeter long handle and one with a 35. Now I already have the wildlife hatchet from Gransfors Brook with a 35 centimeter long handle, and I wanted one with a 30 centimeter long handle. I wanted something that was going to be easier to carry, possibly lighter, and something that would have a thinner grind. That was my main issue with my Gransfors Brook. The first one that I had a rather thick grind, and it was lopsided. That's why I felt the need to modify it, to make the tool perform as I wanted it to perform. The tool ended up breaking. This part was ripped off. After I sent some photos and some video to Gransfors Brook, they sent me this one, which is much improved over their first model. This one does not have a metal wedge. That did not cause any problems until now. So until this point, I hope it won't. I don't think it will. It has a thinner grind, and it has something else with the handle. You can see it in the shade. There's a slight swedge edge here. It's not as rounded. It's a bit sharp. You might find that uncomfortable. However, it keeps the hatchet from rotating in your hand, especially when you're tired. It stabilizes it very well. This is a good little hatchet. I would consider this more a camping hatchet. I wanted this more as a whittling hatchet. Something that was going to be easy to carry, as I said, and something that would be much better in carving. And when I saw the grind, how thin it was, I said, you know what, this could be something for me. So I asked Surcel Ionel to make me a handle as I wanted it, and paid him, got the hatchet. I started working with it almost every weekend since I got it. And I was getting ready to say what I thought, but yesterday I had a full day out here. It was about 36 degrees. It was very hot. And I wanted to make a fire. I cleaned out my fire pit, and then I started chopping branches. I used this small hatchet. And then I said, okay, everything worked out well. Let's process everything I have here. And I pretty much, all the branches I had that were too long, I cut them. When I got to dogwood, and I guess you guys who work with dogwood know that it can get very, very hard, I got a bit of a warp here in the blade. I don't know if you can see it. It's not a huge warp. You can see it in the light. It does not affect the hatchet in any way, its performance. And then there's a tree that's rotten here. It fell, I don't know, last year. And I said, let me see how it chops, because these axes, these hatchets, Urnieta, were made for chopping, not for splitting. They're far too thin for that. They can do it, but with more difficulty. The only task in which the wildlife hatchet was better than this one was splitting wood, because it has more weight. It's about 120 grams heavier than this. However, when it came to whittling, this one bites in far better, and I did not sharpen it when I got it. I left it as it came. Not even paper slicing sharp, but that just goes to prove how important geometry is. So I started chopping, and I didn't mean to chop off the whole root. and I did, and I'm sitting on the root right now. And then I said, well, I didn't do that right. It took me about 20 minutes because I started to cut too narrow. Then I said, why don't I chop the next section off and just make myself a bench, which I started. And I chopped this part off and started working on it. I started to cut much wider, probably about 10 centimeters, 4 inches narrower than I should have. And it took me only about 9 minutes. Now this is a 450 grams, under a pound, a bit shy of a pound, heavy hatchet. I think 9 minutes. If I would have started the cut wider, it would have taken me less. Well, I think that's pretty impressive. And after I did all that, it took me about 1 or 2 minutes to sharpen it to shaving sharp with my on-the-go sharpening kit. Just the diamond plate from my DC4, which is very used up, my DC4 and a small strop. And I'm going to attach videos of some of my tests and the results of that sharpening session. It is soft, it's not very hard, but it kept an edge. It doesn't keep a shaving sharp edge, but you don't need that if you have good geometry. It taught me a lot of things, and the first day I worked with it, after I got it, I put a coat of linseed oil on it, and I realized a few things. I would have liked it to be more opened, so the edge would be here somewhere, and the handle would be a bit bent, so you could grab it under the head. Right now, if you grab it like this, it's gonna bother you. However, being that this is such a light hatchet, if you hold it like this, there's not much you can do because it has no weight. So I do hold it here, it doesn't bother me, and I can do whatever it is I want to do, and very quickly. You can also perform small tasks very securely. It has a thin grind. That's one of the most important things. If you have a knife with which you want to split wood, the SC5 does a great job. If you want to also be able to do other things with it, then you need to modify it to thin it out. I didn't need to thin this out, and that impressed me. First time I worked with it, I worked with it for about an hour or so, just whittling away. And towards the end, I noticed it would twist a bit, and that's how I noticed this didn't twist. It was a bit more uncomfortable. This is a bit thicker, more suited for my hand because it was a custom handle made for me. But it twisted a bit. After I applied a number of linseed oil coatings on it, I would say every other day when I had 5 minutes, I would just do that. Right now, it's perfect. I was at the cabin, it was cold and damp, and it did not twist anymore, even though dew started to form on the handle. And yesterday, it was really hot. My hand was sweaty, I was tired, and I kept thinking about it because I do not want to have a hatchet or an axe fly out of my hand when I'm using it. They are very dangerous tools if you're not using them properly. I do not claim to know 100% how to use a hatchet or an axe. I'm not going to make a tutorial about it. There are other people who know that better, but I do try to take all the necessary precautions to avoid getting bit by an axe or a hatchet. And with all this linseed oil coatings on it, it just stayed in my hand. For such a light axe, such a light hatchet, it performs wonderfully. It gets a very deep bite, and the only downside is that sometimes you have to pull it out. That did not happen to me as often with this. And one where I didn't have the problem was the Husqvarna carving axe. Now this is much heavier, but this is, I was very impressed by it. Now it wasn't really what I expected when I got it. Got it about 4 months ago, and I enjoy using it, but this is a very heavy axe. I wouldn't carry this around with me when I come out here. I use this mainly at the cabin. It requires some learning in using it. It will tire out your hand really quickly. because of the weight. This one won't. You won't get chips off of a piece of wood as big as with that one, but that one's almost 3 times as heavy. For the size, for the weight, it is fantastic. Now, one thing I do not like is the coating they put on it. It's to protect the axe head from rusting, and it's very sticky. The sheet sticks to it, the dirt sticks to it. Now you can remove that with sandpaper. I obviously didn't do that. It's gonna get removed by itself. The portions of the blade where you do work with it, you see it just wears off. But that's about it. Good edge retention, more because of the geometry, not shaving sharp edge retention. The wildlife hatchet has a better edge retention, but then again it has a steeper edge angle, so you can't really compare those. This little warping did not cause any problems. I will eventually put a clean edge on it so you cannot see the warping in here, and maybe reduce the edge angle, see how it holds up. However, I am already very satisfied. I talked to the guy who made the handle, and I told him I would have liked it to be more open. He said he could replace it for me, could replace the handle. I decided not to do that because I kind of got used to it. In 1.5 months, I really started liking this tool. And it's funny, when a tool performs better than you expected it and does, I think, more than you needed to do, you start really enjoying working with that tool. And this is the case right here. Also, check out the nice pattern on the bottom of the handle right here. It's a small touch, but I really liked it. I'm very happy with this little hatchet. You can get them worldwide. I've seen YouTube channels in the States that have these, and the performance is excellent. I have Scandinavian forest axe by Gransfors Brook. That's a felling axe, well, a chopping axe, if I'm not mistaken. It does not perform as well as my carpenter's axe. It has a steeper grind. It performs very well, but it's a slightly steeper grind. And steeper grinds may be more resilient, but they won't help you when you want to work with something, when you want to make quick work out of something. If you have a tool that performs better, you're not going to get as tired while using it. It's going to take less time. So, arguably, well, not arguably, it is better. I'm going to get a new sheath for this one. I don't like this sheath, it's too thin. And it was natural leather. I actually soaked this in linseed oil, and it has a nice texture now. Water won't hurt it anymore at all. But I want a thicker, more practical sheath, like this one that only covers the axe head. I do not want to carry my hatchet on my waist, on my belt, or anywhere else, if that means that I'm carrying it with the loop that holds the sheath on the axe head. If this one comes undone and it falls on my leg, I do keep them sharp. I don't keep them shaving sharp most of the time, but they are sharp and they could very quickly hurt you. So I want a simple sheath for it, and that's what I'm going to get. Very happy with it. It's smaller, it's lighter, easier to carry for me, and it does an excellent job. Now I'm going to attach tests as few as I can to give you an idea. Stick around for those if you care. If you have any questions about this little axe, just let me know. It also, for the price that I got it for, it was about 65-70% what this would cost me. So, well, I think that's why I also started. It's like when you get a knife that behaves a bit better than your other more expensive knife, you want to test it. And I tested it more than it should handle. I don't think I should cut logs like this with an axe, with a hatchet like this. However, being that this only weighs about a pound, if you go somewhere in the mountains and you're thinking, well, you know, I'm with a tent, I might actually process some wood. You're gonna want to take the tool that is most comfortable for you to carry. And it would be a good idea to already have tested that tool and know what it can do. And should you require the tool to do more, well, you can't know that until you test it. And right now, I trust it. I will clean the edge up and test again. And then after I'm satisfied, this is probably gonna be my main hatchet. It's a good looking one too. Yeah, I do enjoy the fact that I can put my hand very close to the axe head and have the edge right here for finer detail work. You can do this with this one, and you can do fine detailed work. It's not as comfortable, and when it comes to chopping, this would be the maximum distance where you could go up so you still have force. But it taught me a lot of things, and that's also a reason why I like it. Well, enough said. I hope you liked the video. Stay tuned for the tests. If you have any questions about it, just add them in the comment section. I'll try to get to them as soon as possible. Thank you for watching, and as always, I wish you all a great day.